औज़ुबिल्लाहिमिनश्शैतानिर्रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। आपका मेज़बान आरिफ जहांगीरी एक दफ़ा फिर कम्युनिटी टॉक के प्रोग्राम के साथ हाजिर है। नाज़रीन, आपको पता है कि महीने में एक दफ़ा जो है वो अपने नौजवानों के साथ, यंगस्टर के साथ आते हैं और उनके साथ कोई डिस्कशन करते हैं या उनकी किसी अचीवमेंट के हवाले से हम बात करते हैं। तो आज भी जो है हमने दो जो है हमारे यंगस्टर्स को जो है वो अपने प्रोग्राम के लिए हमने मदऊ किया है। उसमें से एक जो है वो लॉ बनना चाहती हैं, लॉ की जो प्रोसीडिंग है उसकी तरफ जा रही हैं, अपनी एजुकेशन कंप्लीट कर रही हैं और उन्होंने पिछले दिनों जो है एक बहुत ही अहम टॉपिक के ऊपर जो है ना वो डिस्कशन किया है। तो मैं भी आपको बताऊंगा, लेकिन थोड़ा सा ये समझने कि जिस टॉपिक को उन्होंने छेड़ा है वो बड़ा इस किस्म का टॉपिक है कि दुनिया में के आसान नहीं है उस टॉपिक के ऊपर डिस्कशन करना। खास तौर पे जब से 9/11 हुआ है उन टॉपिक्स के ऊपर दुनिया जो है वो उसके अगेंस्ट तो बात करती है, चाहती है कि जो उन्होंने तरीक़ेकार इख्तियार किया उसी को मुरव्वजा रखा जाए, उसी को आगे बढ़ाया जाए, लेकिन उसके खिलाफ लेकिन हम आज की जो नौजवान नस्ल है वो उसको एक डिफरेंट एंगल से देखती है और वो देखती है कि जनाब की जो वॉर अगेंस्ट टेररिज्म थी या उसके उसके जो कवायद और जवाबित थे उसको यूएन के जो कानून है इस वक्त उसके मुताबिक चलना चाहिए। तो इस मौजू के ऊपर गुफ्तगू करने के लिए हमारे पास एक गेस्ट मौजूद है और उसके बाद फिर ब्रेक के बाद एक और गेस्ट मेरे पास मौजूद है कि जो कैलीग्राफिस्ट हैं, ज़बरदस्त कैलीग्राफी करती हैं, ज़बरदस्त काम कर रही हैं कैलीग्राफी का, कैलगरी के अंदर रहती हैं, कैलगरी बेस्ड हैं, तो उनसे भी बात करेंगे। तो मेरी पहली मेहमान जो है वो जो है ईमान अहमद हैं। ईमान जो है वो मैंने जैसे आपको बताया कि लॉयर बनना चाहती हैं, लॉ की तरफ जा रही हैं, तो अब ईमान से पूछेंगे कि भाई करना क्या चाह रही हैं आप। Iman, welcome to Community Talk Show. Thank you for giving us the time as well. And I just mentioned in the preamble that is not an easy topic, what you write it out. So I know that. First, tell me that where you read this, where you put this article, and then what happened to this article, and which seminar you go and read this article as well. So can you please tell us a little bit more about this article as well?
Absolutely. First, Jazakallah khairan, Uncle, for having me on. I can tell you I wrote this article last year for my international law class in university. So this is one of the topics that we discussed in my class, the topic of non-state actors and terrorism and war, and how does international law deal with non-state actors and terrorism and war. So based on this discussion in my class that we had, I chose this topic of the prohibition of the use of force and how should we use force against non-state actors to write for my final essay for that class. Alhamdulillah, I did well, so I decided to submit it to a undergraduate research journal, and they chose it last year in December to publish it in their journal.
And that is Global View something. What's the name of that journal? What's the name
Global
of?
Affairs Review.
Okay, Global Affairs Review. That's and it was chosen there, and then in University of Toronto, you read that article as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Last month there was a research conference where I presented.
Okay. So excellent topic. I read it out myself as well, and I go through some of the. But you know that I'm not the lawyer, so I misunderstand so many. I just want to listen from you instead of I start interpretation of your article. I want that what you write it, people understand that, and I know that is a very difficult subject, especially when you are living in the West as well. So tell me that. First of all, that why you write this article, why you choose this specific subject?
Well, the reason that I chose this subject is because I feel like it's important to be educated as Muslims living in the West. Sometimes we can be judged, sometimes people perceive us in a different way. So I think it's important to be educated about these things that are happening in the world that can affect how everyday people in our neighborhood, in our communities interact with us, right? After 9/11, after this rise of terrorism in the Middle East and things like that, it changed how people interact with us on a daily basis when we live here in Canada and America. So I think as a Muslim, it's important to be educated about these things that are happening because they'll affect my life somehow. And then also, as I started to read into these kinds of topics, I just became interested as like a vocation, as a career. This is what I'm interested in learning about. This is what I'm interested in dealing with.
So now come to the specific article that you talk about this union. Can you give us a little bit more details that what is this article is about actually?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you know, since 9/11, there's been a global war on terrorism. And this has been led by the US and their allies, where they have engaged in armed military intervention in foreign countries to pursue terrorists for their own national security, right? We all know about the 2001 war in Afghanistan, which happened right after 9/11. It's an example of the US undertaking military intervention to fight terrorists. And they did this without the express permission of the Afghanistan government, so without the permission of the state of Afghanistan. So technically, it was an illegal action in international law. Currently, in international law, there's two specific laws in the United Nations Charter about the use of force. First is Article 2.4, which prohibits the use of force in any circumstances, and then Article 51, which gives an exception only in for active self-defense. If somebody is if a state is actively attacking you, then you have the right to take up arms against them, or as authorized by the UN Security Council for international human security. So what the US did in 9/11, after 9/11 in Afghanistan, was against all of these. It did not fit into any of these categories. So it was technically an illegal action.
So so how many countries are actually really want to the interpretation have to be changed and get the more privilege to attack such nations who are really hosting some of the terrorists. Actually, the terrorists make that whole country host as well. We can say the other way as well around. So why the West is actually specifically want that interpretation to be changed?
So the West, specifically countries like America, Israel, and their other Western allies, UK, France, and all of those, they want the interpretation of these two articles to be changed so that when a terrorist acts from some country, say a terrorist acts from Afghanistan, then Afghanistan is responsible for those terrorist actions, which means that America as a state can take military action against Afghanistan or the terrorists in Afghanistan. And the reason they want to change the interpretation of the article, they're saying because they have already undertaken this technically illegal action, the norms of international law is changing. The way that we make international laws in current society is we take what states are doing and make it into the law, right? The norm of how states act, that is the law. They're saying now states are acting differently, so the law should be changed so that states are still within the confines of the law. And obviously the way that I just mentioned, they do that is through lowering the state responsibility threshold.
So let's suppose those countries are, because they are the powerful countries and they are donating as well UN a lot of money as well, and they have a lot of influence as well on the UNO. Let's suppose the interpretation of these two articles will be changed in the future. So what are some risk and the danger that the world can face?
Yeah, so absolutely. So there's a lot of risks and dangers if you change the interpretation of these articles of the UN Charter, so that basically what they're asking is to make the state liable for the actions of the people inside the state, even if the state has no control over their actions. So if we change the state responsibility threshold, then all around the world, there are tons of hotspots where states are in conflict with terrorists that are operating from other places. All of these places could break out into war. An example that I mentioned in my article is between Chad and Sudan. Chad has issued aggressive statements condemning Sudan's inability to constrain a specific terrorist organization that does border raids and attacks civilians in Chad. If we change the law so that it's acceptable for Chad to hold Sudan responsible for these terrorists, then that could mean open war between Chad and Sudan. And this kind of conflict between Chad and Sudan is happening everywhere in the world, in the Middle East, in Africa, in Latin America. So basically, if we change this law, it will make war more common all around the world.
So there's another example is between Pakistan and India, because India can also attack that Pakistan is harboring the terrorists as well. So there's another. So there are many countries are actually goes into the war against each other and using this law. Then they are just blame the other country that terrorists are coming from your country. So we have all the right and the privilege to attack on you. So that's what exactly is happening. So, okay. So really UNO, there's a serious talks is going on in the UNO on about these articles, or is just the preliminary talks is going on?
It's mostly just American like intelligence officials and scholars who have said to the world that we need to change this interpretation.
Yeah.
So far at like the International Court of Justice, which interprets and follows the rulings on these laws, they have not accepted any change. When they made rulings, I think they recently had a ruling between Israel and Palestine. It was called the Palestine Wall case, where they ruled that Israel does not have the right to attack or to invade Palestine, or maybe it was a different country, because terrorists are operating from there. So far, there has been no change in the international standards and international legal framework. But the Americans, Israeli, other kinds of intelligence officials and military officials are still advocating for this change to happen.
So tell me that if in some countries, like I can give you many examples, like Nigeria, right? And there are many other countries, they have some terrorist groups are working within their country. And so the country, according to these law, countries are allowed to work inside their country against these terrorists, according to this law, or they are also not allowed to use
In
the
their
power?
own country?
Yes, in their own country, the use of power.
Yeah, in their own country, they're allowed to follow their own laws. The international law and the UN Charter, it is only between states. It only governs the actions of states with other states.
Because why I'm asking this question is that because recently we have the Syria, right? A very good example where Syrian government want to fight against those terrorists, but their international intervention is going on there from the Russia, America, and Turkey. The international interfere is there, and they not allowing the Syrian government to fight against those who are rebellious, or according to the government, those are terrorists. So how that's why I'm asking this question, that this law is really pertaining, this law is really stop them, also not attack on their rebellious group within their country as well?
No, this law can't stop them from attacking on the rebellious groups in their country, in their own country. The only way, the law that would stop them is, well, there isn't a specific law that exists that would stop like Bashar al-Assad from attacking his own people. The only one is the responsibility to protect principle, which is this idea where when there's a humanitarian crisis happening, the international community has a responsibility to intervene and protect. But this is not like a set international law. It's just a principle and a norm that has been suggested.
Because there's a great possibility that's just like in Pakistan also, right? That some of the Baloch groups are working there, and Pakistan government using the power against them as well and call them terrorists as well, right? So there is a possibility that sometimes states using the huge power against those small groups, right? Similarly, like India is using the power against the Kashmiris, right? They are fighting for their independence. China is using in Xinjiang as well. They are using the same power. So that's why I don't know that there is something. I know that there are some humanitarian laws are definitely there, but state also use those power as well against sometime innocent people. So you have to focus on that one as well, because you write a wonderful article. I saw that, because this is another area where state against the they want to stop the voices of truth and reality and independence sometime, because the peoples want some independence, right? They want to talk, they want to really open their views, but government is not allowing them. So those are the also important things, and sometimes the states work as a state terrorism is also there.
Yes, absolutely. It's good you bring that out. I'm actually writing an essay right now for a class that I'm in right now. I just submit the proposal yesterday, and it's about how what can international law do about how the Chinese government is treating the Uyghur Muslims in the Xinjiang region of China. So they have the concentration camps and labor camps set up there, and some people have suggested that they're undertaking crimes against humanity and other kinds of even genocidal crimes against the Uyghur Muslims in China in that place. So I'm writing an article right now about what international law can, if anything, can do about it.
I think you wonderful article once again, Imaan. Thank you for your time as well, and it was really a great discussion. And I hope that we will call you as well for other subject to be talk as well. Thank you for your time once again. सो नाज़रीन, आपने देखा कि हमने जो है वो ईमान से जो है वो एक सहल अफ़ज़ा गुफ्तगू करने की कोशिश की, और टॉपिक बड़ा ज़बरदस्त टॉपिक था। इसके ऊपर आमतौर पे जो है वो हमारे नौजवानों को इतनी नॉलेज नहीं होती, इतना डिस्कशन इतना ज़्यादा, लेकिन ईमान इज़ वन ऑफ द यंगस्टर एंड यही हमारा फ्यूचर है डेफिनेटली, जो कि बहुत सारे ऐसे डिस्कशन होंगे जो हम करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन हमारी आने वाली नस्लें यकीनन उसके ऊपर बात करेंगी। तो एक छोटा सा ब्रेक लेते हैं, और ब्रेक के जाने से पहले जो मेरी अगली मेहमान है, जाइएगा नहीं, बहुत ज़बरदस्त कैलीग्राफी कर रही हैं, कैलगरी में रहती हैं। हम उनकी आपको कुछ कैलीग्राफी भी दिखाएंगे, उनसे बात भी करेंगे। लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक एंड वी विल कम बैक विद दानिया अहमद।
When we first arrived in Canada, I was in my 6th month of pregnancy. We did not have anybody we know here.
I could see her struggle and I could feel her feelings. Seeing the baby the first time, we had a feeling that he is like my sister's baby.
At the beginning, like Osama was my brother's friend, but now he's my best friend.
It's hard to pay back to them what they did for us. We go and share time together, and part of sharing time, sharing food.
तो नाज़रीन, वेलकम बैक वंस अगेन। हमने जैसे कि आपको ब्रेक से पहले, जाने से पहले बताया था कि हमारे पास जो है हमने एक बड़ी ज़बरदस्त कैलगरी की जो है वो कैलगरी बेस्ड कैलीग्राफिस्ट को अपने यहाँ आज मदऊ किया प्रोग्राम के अंदर। तो वेलकम दानिया। दानिया जो है वो वैसे तो आपके प्रोफेशन के हिसाब से जो है वो फाइनेंस से रिलेट करती हैं, उनकी डिग्री सारी पढ़ाई वगैरह फाइनेंस में, लेकिन एज अ पैशनेट शी इज़ वन ऑफ द पैशनेट कैलीग्राफिस्ट एक्चुअली, और उन्होंने अपने पैशन के तौर पर इसको स्टार्ट किया। बड़ी ज़बरदस्त किस्म की उन्होंने पेंटिंग बना रही हैं। अभी एक हम छोटी सी आपको स्लाइड्स उनकी भी दिखाएंगे कि उन्होंने क्या काम किया। दानिया खैरी, वेलकम टू आवर शो।
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. So let's watch your slides and then we come back and we talk
Sure.
as well, okay? तो नाज़रीन, आपने जो है एक ज़बरदस्त किस्म का स्लाइड शो देखा। दानिया ने ये सारी कैलीग्राफी खुद बनाई है और बहुत ज़बरदस्त बनाई है। आई रियली इम्प्रेस दैट हाउ यू डिड द वर्क। तो पहले तो जो दानिया मुझे ये बताइए कि ये, क्योंकि जाहिर बात है आपका प्रोफेशन नहीं है, आपकी डिग्री नहीं है, ये आपको मतलब कैसे पैदा हुआ शौक इसको बनाने का, इस तरफ जाने का शौक क्यों पैदा हुआ आपको, पहले तो ये बताएं।
So first of all, I'm actually based, I'm from Pakistan, Karachi, लेकिन मैंने अपनी सारी जिंदगी I have lived in Middle East. तो वहाँ पे I mean आप कहीं पे भी जाएंगे, you go to mosque, you go to different buildings, आप government buildings में जाएंगे, everywhere you go you see calligraphies. Either it's Quranic verses, किसी ruler के लिए praising लिखी हुई है, कोई poems लिखी हुई है, anything like वहाँ ज़्यादातर जो concept है वो it's just the writing that you see and it's in different forms, different type of calligraphies, different scripts use करते हैं. So that always fascinated me कि ये like how you write it. मतलब मैं उस वक्त like probably I was like very very small for that. लेकिन I had no idea what kinds of pens you have to use. मुझे वहाँ से शौक हुआ. I had a hidden artist in me. बचपन से मैं I was good in drawing and stuff. लेकिन calligraphy का मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा था कि मैं करूँगी. But then when we came here, we moved to Canada last year. तब quarantine में थे सब लोग. There was a start of the pandemic. The nights were long. It was winter time. 10 बजे होती थी रात. तो पूरा दिन होता था आपके पास. और फिर उसके बाद यही होता था कि आप you had to do something. I have like 2 kids. उनको भी देखना एंड ऑल दैट। तो बहुत टाइम था, मैंने कहा कि अब आई थिंक आई शुड स्टार्ट माय आर्ट। तो मुझे लगता था कि पेंटिंग एब्स्ट्रैक्ट इज नॉट इनफ। मैंने बहुत सारी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट पेंटिंग्स देखी, मुझे लगता था दे आर एम्प्टी विदाउट समथिंग, दे नीड टू हैव समथिंग, आई वांट टू ऐड समथिंग मोर टू इट। तो मैंने कैलीग्राफी स्टार्ट की। आई स्टार्टेड विद वेरी स्मॉल थिंग्स लाइक अल्लाह। पहले मैंने अलिफ लिखना सीखा, फिर उसके बाद मैंने डिफरेंट अल्फाबेट्स ऐड किए उसके अंदर। पहले बहुत ज़्यादा ऑब्वियसली इट वाज रियली एमेच्योर, लेकिन आई स्टार्टेड लर्निंग द स्क्रिप्ट्स के कौन कौन सी स्क्रिप्ट्स हैं, हाउ यू राइट देम, देन आई स्टार्टेड बाइंग पेन्स फॉर दैट, कौन सी इंक यूज करनी है। सो दैट्स हाउ आई स्टार्टेड, इट वाज जस्ट माय पैशन एक्चुअली।
I think it's a wonderful passion you discover yourself during the COVID-19. That's a
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I think is a fascinating. I don't know that. I'm thinking that you take some classes with somebody and learning from you. But what I saw, the color you are using, the calligraphic and the kufic artic you are using, that's amazing, amazing. तो किससे वैसे
Thank you.
मुतासिर, तो आपने कैलीग्राफी में मुतासिर किससे? Who fascinate you actually?
मैं टू बी ऑनेस्ट, मैं किसी को बेसिकली आई डोंट फॉलो एनीवन। मैं दे आर ऑल मास्टर्स आउट देयर, आई एम जस्ट एन एक्सप्लोरर। आई जस्ट स्टार्टेड इट अ ईयर अगो। तो मैं ये नहीं कह सकती कि मैं, देयर आर सो मेनी टू बी इंस्पायर्ड फ्रॉम, लेकिन मैंने किसी का ऐसा देखती नहीं हूँ। आई जस्ट लुक अराउंड फॉर द कलर्स, आई लुक एट द नेचर। अल्लाह ताला ने इतने कलर्स बनाए हैं, देयर आर सो मेनी कलर कॉम्बिनेशंस दैट यू कैन सी फ्रॉम। मैं वो कलर्स देखती हूँ कि मुझे क्या कॉम्बिनेशन डालना है। समटाइम्स व्हेन आई गेट कमीशंस द कलर्स आर डिसाइडेड बाय द क्लाइंट्स। लेकिन जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था तो आई वाज जस्ट लुकिंग अराउंड फॉर कलर कॉम्बिनेशंस दैट अल्लाह ताला हैज मेड ऑलरेडी इन द नेचर, लाइक ग्रीन्स एंड पिंक्स एंड पर्पल्स। तो वो सब ऐड करके यू नो इट जस्ट मेक्स इट ब्यूटीफुल।
Okay, so wonderful. So you didn't take any courses. You are not fascinated. You're not seeing the work of great calligraphers like Saad Khan,
जी
like
जी,
Golgi. They often these are they are in Turkish and
they
they
are
are
masters,
yes,
yes.
yeah, they are the masters all over the world who are doing the calligraphy, right? And the wonderful
True.
calligraphy. So
जी,
you didn't really, you just started by your own and you
yes,
discover yourself actually. That's what
yes, I
where's I learned
yes,
that. Okay, so
yes.
just this is just a passion, or you think that you have some time you want to do some नुमाइश करनी है इसकी, कोई कुछ बड़ा करना है, कोई दिमाग में
I started it as a passion, yes. I never thought I would sell them. मैंने कभी भी नहीं सोचा था I would make money, I would get fame with these things, क्योंकि ये they're so spiritual. You get a lot of calmness मिलती है आपको इससे करके. But when I did my first painting, तो मैंने अपनी painting, I posted it on Facebook and I got an overwhelming response from people, because especially in Calgary, यहाँ पे होंगे लोग जो कैलीग्राफी करते होंगे, बट लोगों को मेरी बहुत ज्यादा कैलीग्राफी पसंद आई, and I was like a local artist and I got an overwhelming response. It was just a passion, but then I started pursuing it as a profession कि मैं बनाऊं और करूं, and then I get a lot of commissions. लोग अपने कलर्स के हिसाब से, इंटीरियर्स के हिसाब से they have modernized it. Obviously हम कुरानिक आया को modernize तो नहीं कर सकते, but at least what you can do is you can modernize the background of the paintings according to the interiors. So I think that's what the people like in my paintings, is कि वो अपने हिसाब से customize कर सकते हैं. I just don't do what I like. I like to do what people like to see in my paintings.
Okay.
तो वो उनको जैसी पसंद आती है, they can actually customize it. तो अभी तक तो प्रोफेशन चल रहा है, and let's see how it goes.
Okay. So मुझे एक
Can be
चीज
sure of
बताए, जैसे अभी आपने कहा कि मतलब इसके एक तस्कीन मिलती है, एक सुकून मिलता है हार्ट के अंदर, राइट, एक स्पिरिचुअलिटी आती है, तो
जी
मतलब किस किस्म की फीलिंग होती है जब आप एक इमेजिंग पेंटिंग को डेवलप कर लेती हैं, तो क्या 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 फीलिंग्स होती हैं आपकी स्पिरिचुअली? आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग व्हाट दैट.
स्पिरिचुअली व्हाट आई फील इज, मैं शायद बहुत बड़ी बात कर रही हूँ, लेकिन आई फील लाइक आई फील लाइक द चूजन वन, कि अल्लाह ताला की आयतें लिखना इट्स नॉट एन इजी थिंग. सब लोगों को शायद अल्लाह ताला इतनी वो नहीं देते कि आप उनकी आयतें लिख सकें. इट्स लाइक इट्स दीज आर द वर्ड्स ऑफ कुरान. तो आप अगर लिख रहे हैं, सो यू नो यू हैव समथिंग इन योर हैंड. और कोशिश मेरी यही होती है कि मैं बिल्कुल ठीक लिखूं, उस तरह लिखूं जितना लोगों से पढ़ा जाए, because if I'm writing something that is not readable, but this is I think useless क्योंकि लोग पढ़ नहीं पाएंगे. So there is this, I mean, inner feeling is you just get so relaxed.
So
You feel good actually.
so आपकी फैमिली के अंदर भी कोई और कैलीग्राफी करता है या only you are the one?
नहीं, calligraphy कोई नहीं करता. My family has a lot of artists.
Okay.
I think it comes in inheritance.
Okay.
लेकिन calligraphy कोई नहीं करता. I'm the first one. I guess.
You are the first one who started that. But I say is a wonderful, you are doing a wonderful work, Dania.
Thank you.
And I think
Thank
that your work have to be really in the Calgary. I hope that people understand your colors scheme, what you want to give them. क्या मैसेज देंगे आप, मतलब क्या मैसेज देना चाहती हैं इस कैलीग्राफी के जरिए दुनिया को, क्या और अपने बच्चों को भी?
कोई ऐसा खास मैसेज नहीं है, बट मैं आई होप दैट दिस गोज ऑन. आजकल बहुत ज्यादा मैंने देखा देयर इज अ फैशन ऑफ मेटालिक कैलीग्राफी दैट यू जस्ट गेट अ लेजर कट एंड ऑल दैट. वो थोड़ा सा आपकी जो हाथ का काम है उसको खत्म कर रहा है कैलीग्राफी को. दिस इज समथिंग एल्स व्हाट यू राइट विद योर हैंड एंड यू हैव अ फील विद इट. आप एक अपने दिल से लिखते हैं. तो आई होप इट गोज ऑन एंड पीपल डोंट स्टॉप बाइंग द कैलीग्राफी दैट इज रिटन, दैट इज डन बाय हैंड, बिकॉज दैट हैज अ डिफरेंट फील टू इट. आई मीन इट्स समथिंग डिफरेंट. उसके अंदर इंसान की फीलिंग्स होती हैं, बहुत सारा you have a lot of efforts put into it. So there is no message as such, but it's just I'm just glad with the overwhelming response that I get from people around on my calligraphy is just amazing.
तो आपके हस्बैंड आपसे ये नहीं कहते क्या तुम हर वक्त ये बनाती रहती हो, बच्चों को नहीं देखती हो, खाना नहीं पका हुआ?
नहीं, he's very supportive. He's the one that supported me in the beginning. I would say कि I think he was the only one who supported me. और मुझे कोई भी चीज, if ever I want something, he's the first one to go get it.
So mashallah, you have a good husband who is motivating you as well, right?
Alhamdulillah.
So because it's not easy with 2 children, his family, because
Yes.
paintings takes time and you make in 1 year such a nice, so many painting I saw in the slideshow. I say mashallah, because I remember that 6 or 7 months before when I saw your first picture there on the Facebook, I asked you that you are a professional or this and that. I asked you several questions there. And I am following in on that one because I am following very quietly to the pupils what they are doing. And Alhamdulillah is a great, you are doing excellent job, Dania.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes. बड़े खुशी हुई आपसे मिल के, और हम अब किसी और प्रोग्राम में भी और अच्छी पेंटिंग बनाएंगे, फिर हम आपको बुलाएंगे और आपकी पेंटिंग्स जो हैं वो जाहिर सी बात है कनाडा के लोगों को दिखाएंगे भी. शुक्रिया आपका बहुत टाइम का, वक्त निकालने का, कनाडा कम्युनिटी टॉक को टाइम देने का. थैंक यू वेरी मच दानिया.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show.
थैंक यू.
Thank you.
तो नाज़रीन, आज आपने देखा हमारे 2 यंग मेहमानों से आपने मिला किस तरीके से हमारी अगली नस्ल जो है वो अपने टैलेंट को, अपनी रिवायात को आगे बढ़ा रही है. इट्स अमेजिंग. When I see the transformation that how our youth are really moving forward and taking our जो हमारी रिवायात हैं, हमारी सकाफत है, हमारा सोचने का अंदाज है, और एक मुसलमान को जिस तरीके से सोचना चाहिए, हमारी अगली नस्ल को जब मैं उसमें मुंतकिल होते हुए देखता हूँ तो मैं इमेज करता हूँ और अल्लाह ताला का शुक्र भी अदा करता हूँ. तो उम्मीद है आज का प्रोग्राम आपको पसंद आया होगा, और उम्मीद है आप लोग जो है वो अपना फीडबैक देना नहीं भूलिएगा. और इंशाल्लाह तो अगले हफ्ते फिर किसी नए प्रोग्राम और नए मौजू के साथ हाजिर होंगे. उस वक्त तक के लिए इजाज़त दीजिए. अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू.